This is Vince Lara in the College of Applied Health Sciences at the University of Illinois. Today I speak with Joe Cross, a former Illini basketball player who went on to get his PhD in Education Policy, Organization, and Leadership at Illinois, about his new role as an academic skills specialist at AHS. Joe, tell me about what led you to Illinois as a student.
Sure. Back in 1998, I was playing basketball at Florida International University down in Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
And I had previous communications with the coach then here, Lon Kruger, who's now the head coach at Oklahoma University. And so had communications with him and his coaching staff. A good friend of mine, Robert McCullum, was his assistant coach, who's now at FAMU. Good friends of the family. He had heard about what I was doing at FIU. When he was at Florida, he had recruited me there, and when he got to the University of Illinois, he just thought it would be a good fit for me to be back at home. And I reached out to him, my family, and we thought it would be a better fit than where I was at. Although I was having a great time down in Miami,
I bet.
I knew here would put me in a position to be successful. Not so much on the court as far as going to the NBA or something like that, but just in my off the court, my career and things like that. And so he recruited me to come in 1998, the falls, really the spring, started the spring semester of 99 really, and that's when I started. And that's what brought me to Illinois, just the relationships that I had with that coaching staff and my desire to play at high level Division I basketball. And so I had liked sport management was my major there at FIU that I was looking to go into, and I knew that they had a sport management major here. It was leisure studies really at the time. The college was leisure studies, and so it was really an easy fit. I knew the majority of the players: Sergio McClain, Marcus Griffin, Robert Archibald, Brian Cook. I kind of knew all those guys, Victor Chukudebe, and it was just really, I felt like they were my family already. So that's kind of how I got here to Illinois, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. Yeah, you mentioned your undergrad in sport management. I'm wondering, you transitioned to working with students, and I wonder why you decided to do that.
Well, like most students, after that undergrad degree with sport management, I just knew I had most of my jobs in high school were internships or summer jobs working at, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, that type of thing. And so when I got done with undergrad, I knew I was going to somehow transition into, and really Terry Cole, the former assistant athletic director, he had done a lot of work at the Boys and Girls Club, the Don Murray Boys and Girls Club here. And he was just like, Joe, I think this would be a awesome fit. And I did some summer, internships or experiences over at the Boys and Girls Club as a community service stuff and things like that. However, the director of academic services at the time was Tom Michael, who was my academic advisor too. I saw what he did as an academic advisor for the athletic department. And I was in awe of just the type of impact that he was making with all the athletes, and how he just mentored, because he played here at the University of Illinois at the time as well, during the early 90s. And so I saw how he mentored students and in the classroom, but not only in the classroom, within their sports, basketball or track or whatever, wrestling, and how he was just a mentor to them. And so I wanted to do, although Boys and Girls Club was great, and I wanted to be a mentor for the kids in the community and the YMCA and things like that. Joe DeLucia is over the Parks, Champaign Parks and Rec here, and so I was good friends with him and did some work with him, community work with him, and so I had different avenues I can go into. But this piece that, working with the student athletes and being a sort of counselor, advisor, mentor, that really intrigued me. And so I really, talked to Tom Michael about that, and he really started me on the path, to being an academic advisor with DIA, with Division of Intercollegiate Athletics. And I absolutely loved my experiences there. And I did that for 7 years. I was over football for a few years, working under Ron Zook and his staff. And so I got some really good experiences working with a variety of teams, softball and baseball and track and gymnastics and those types of areas, and I had an awesome time with that. Well, that led me over to the College of Education, where I was an academic advisor and also working on PhD work there in EPO, Education Policy, Organization, and Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so good friend of mine, mentor, Dr. James Anderson and Dr. Chris Spann and Dr. Bill Trent. Those guys just really have been mentors since I've been here at the University of Illinois, and they got me over there working and advising. And I finished the PhD program over there, which in turn kind of brought me full circle. I did a postdoc in IGB, Institute for Genomic Biology, and on their outreach team there,
Mm-hmm.
working with the community and getting the community K through 12 students interested in STEM fields and things like that. And worked with a guy, Bruce Falk, Dr. Bruce Falk over in IGB, and once this position opened up, in Applied Health Sciences, working with the iLeap program, I knew Manny Jackson. I know him, and just being an alum of the university, and knew his vision for the program, and once I found out who was over it, and April Carter, just the relationship really it was just a good fit for me again. So I was really appreciative.
Now, you mentioned iLeap, and the campus in general, UIUC, it's one of the most diverse in the country. It might be the most diverse. And I wonder, what does the university do well to attract students of color, in your opinion?
Sure. I mean, what attracts students of color is the faculty of color, is the people in leadership positions of color. Dr. Reggie Austin, and I mean, I've known him for quite some time. So when you can see people that look like you, talk like you, act like you, walk like you, think like you, process things like you, problem solve like you, can relate to your situation, you get drawn in. It's not any rocket science. While historically black colleges and universities get the numbers that they get, and they attract the people who they attract, is because they can say, hey, I come from where you come from. I think like you think. I understand, how you process things. And this is how I made it out of my situation, or this is how I'm able to further my situation, if it's a great situation. And so U of I does an awesome job, and especially with our international students, we see with our international students, we see that because they can come right into our university and have a family right away, and see people and interact with people that come from similar backgrounds. And I think Applied Health Sciences does a great job in doing that and showing our students that balance and diversity.
Now, what do you see your role at iLeap being?
Sure. My basic role is to help students be successful in their academic experiences here while in the college and at the university. I mean, that's what Manny L. Jackson wanted this to be, where he had a place to come, and even though that maybe the university didn't look all like him, he was one of very few and the only one of the only black athletes on his team, basketball players. He found a home, at this college, and he talks very highly of our college, and so that's what I want to make every student that's a first generation student, that's African American, Latino, those types of students, whether you're underrepresented in whatever area. I want to make sure that you're comfortable in this space whenever you come in, that this is a safe haven for you, that you can get the resources that you need, get the help that you need, the assistance that you need in order to continue to be here at the university. We have so many students that are going through so many different things. They just need to know I can come to a place where I feel safe, I feel respected, and I know that I can get the answer to my question, or they can lead me direct me to the answer to my question.
Now, as a former athlete yourself, you were in leisure sciences, as you said, what they called AHS back then. And AHS has a reputation for drawing in a lot of student athletes. Reggie Corbin, for example,
Sure.
Wally Batiku,
Yes.
right? Guys who have spoken really highly of the RST program in general. What do you think is the pipeline that helps keep that going?
Well, their main interest is sport, and so that was the common interest. And I mean, as a kid, I didn't grow up knowing about sport management.
Right.
I want to go into sport management as a major. No, I didn't. I didn't know about the major at all. Not until I got to college and I started, messing around with different gen eds. And then I found out, well, wait, what is sport management? What is that all about? And so I think that, they're attracted because it's right up their alley. I mean, anytime that you can talk, you're a sports-minded person and you're talking about sports,
right,
the majority of the time, but a lot of people that didn't understand, sport management deals a lot with the management is the business part of it, and that's really intriguing too to a lot of students because sports is a business, especially now that we're moving into an age where we can, student athletes are, maybe able to get paid for their likeness, pretty soon. I mean, it's a business to them; they have to market themselves
for sure.
And sport management is a wonderful, gives you that background, wonderful background and intellect into that area. So. I'm even now that the sports is going into a different era, into a different genre. I think that this next generation of student will even look more favorably upon sport management because it's a business.
Now, what do you see? What's your role post graduation for these students? Like, how much can you follow them, and what does that outreach look like?
Sure. I mean, of course, you want to stay with the students as much as you can, to help them into their career. My position right now is just in this area, just to make sure that they have the best experience possible while they're here in college. With our students, whether they be athletes, non-athletes, because we do have non-athletes in the iLeague program. It's really just to for first and second year students to make sure that they have a good footing, a good foundation, while they're here. Of course, yes, I've only been here for a short time, and I want to make those relationships and build those relationships where whoever's working with the Bulls or whoever's working with the Blues down in St. Louis, whoever's working with whomever over in Indy, the Colts or whatever, we can still stay in that communication. Or if they're in the medical field in some type of way, or they're out with the community doing solving some community health issues, that I can be working with them as well. I just got here, so I would love to broaden that and help those students when they graduate.
What you said you've only been here a short time, but what's your favorite part of the job so far?
The interaction with the students.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, I come from. I missed that for the last 2 years. I was able to publish some writings and things like that while I was working on my postdoc.
Yep.
But I had a little to no interaction with the students, and that's immediately what I found. Like, man, that makes my day. When students you build that relationship with students, and they can come in and out of your office. The door is always open, and they just drop by, just saying hello. Just so many students. It's the first day of classes today.
Yep.
So many students have come by, just say, "What's up, Joe? How you doing? Happy New Year. This is what I did during break. It was so much fun. Or I'm so glad to be back. I hated being at home. I'm so glad to be back. In my own apartment. My own bed. And stuff like that. Just hearing those stories.
Yeah.
And they're ready for the semester to start. That's really what I really enjoy.
My thanks to today's guest, Joe Cross. For more episodes of A Few Minutes With, please go to iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, Buzzsprout, and other places you get your podcasts, and search A Few Minutes With.